Despite being a Hollywood goddess, she has a hidden fear of being by herself. In addition to her stunning beauty, Margot Robbie, the lady who once dared to smack Leonardo DiCaprio on set, is renowned for her rebellious, erratic nature. There is a complex and multi-layered person behind the spotlight, a girl who is grounded, somewhat odd, and exceptionally skilled at maintaining secrets. The most intimate pictures of Margot that the world has never seen will be shown in today's video, coupled with some shocking behind-the-scenes tales. Why did the role that brought her fame turn out to be the one she detested the most? Stay tuned to learn more about Margot Robbie, not only as an actor, but as one of Hollywood's most intriguing and enigmatic creatures. The modest Queensland town of Dalby, which is more of a tourist destination than a star manufacturer, is where Margot Robbie was born on July 2nd, 1990. Doug Robbie, her father, was a farmer who didn't stay long. He left the family when Margot was just 4 years old, leaving her mother to raise 4 children by herself. I've always felt safe and at ease in turmoil because I grew up in a noisy, busy home. Her mother, Siri Kessler, became the pillar of the family, and she once remarked, "I think that's why I love being on set so much." She worked as a physiotherapist during the day, providing care for the old and disabled. At night, she returned home to deal with 4 unruly, combative kids. Margot has frequently claimed that her mother is the source of all her strength. Her work ethic, compassion, and fortitude. It was impossible with 4 children. Nevertheless, my mother remained resilient. I'm in awe of her enthusiasm. I've always aspired to be like her. Margot's fatherlessness also had a profoundly personal impact on her development. She started to fear being by herself. She was surrounded by commotion, laughter, and friends all the time. She never hid in her trailer during breaks, not even on movie shoots. She talked to everyone as she went about. From production helpers to cosmetics artists and lighting technicians, she experienced a different aspect of life. Hands-on, harsh physical labor while vacationing at her grandparents' farm. She gained knowledge of how to milk cows, clean out stalls, hose down the yard, cut wood, and even operate a tractor. However, that young country girl harbored a deep love for cinema. Margot loved Goldie Hawn so much that she committed every scene to memory. She repeatedly watched The Fifth Element as if it were her bedtime scripture. However, she had no idea who Wes Anderson or Martin Scorsese were at the time. For her, movies were just something that made her heart race whenever the screen came on. Margot was the type of child that was always restless in class. She participated in acting, softball, dancing, rowing, and surfing before falling in love with the sport. She even considered becoming a magician at one time. However, it was the school theater productions that turned her life around and brought her to Melbourne, where she was cast alongside Liam Hemsworth in the children's television series The Elephant Princess. Margot trained in circus arts throughout the summers, studying aerial silks, which she still does now and again. Following graduation, she enrolled at the elite Somerset College. At 16, Margot began working as a waiter, room cleaner, and seashore souvenir vendor to help support her mother and pay for her education. She eventually purchased a one-way ticket to Melbourne after spending her hard-earned money on acting classes. I was scared. I was aware that I was venturing into an uncharted territory. I was unable to simply spend the weekend at home when I was bored or lonely. The distance was too great. I had the impression that I was living abroad in Melbourne. She then balanced school, a job making sandwiches at Subway, and countless auditions. She barely survived that job. But at last, a tiny glimmer of optimism emerged. Although Margot had a remarkable look, her early roles were merely supporting parts for the leading actors. Not even her name appeared in the credits. Margot had to do everything alone because she had no manager and no team to help her. She sought information from acquaintances, searched small newspaper ads for casting calls, and occasionally held onto the flimsy hope that anybody might take notice of her. Then, in 2007, her life underwent a little but significant turning point. Ash Aaron, an Australian filmmaker renowned for his raw style, saw something in Margot that no one else had. In Vigilante 2008, he offered her the first significant role of her career. For Margot, it was the first hefty door to open, even if it wasn't a smash. She made appearances in a couple advertisements and 2 episodes of the children's show, The Elephant Princess, around the same time. She received another invitation from Ash Aaron a few years later, this time to participate in the horror movie I See You, which tells the tale of serial murders. At the time of filming, Margot was just 17 years old. Margot had already plunged into a world that required patience, fortitude, and steely nerves at a time when most girls were worrying about tests or high school crushes. She happened onto an audition for one of Australia's longest-running shows, Neighbours, during that time. Margot never believed she would have a chance. Assuming there was nothing worth waiting for, she and her partner took a plane to Canada after the audition. However, her phone buzzed somewhere on a Canadian snow-covered mountain trail. The job had gone to her. Margot lived with Donna Friedman, a student of fashion design, for 3 years. The timetable for filming was harsh. Up to 17 hours a day, 5 days a week. Although a kissing scene between Donna and a female friend caused a lot of criticism, it also highlighted Robbie's new and nuanced portrayal of the character. She was nominated for one of Australia's most important television awards, Loy, for the role. However, Margot was certain of one thing. Despite her affection, Australia was too little to support her aspirations. The Neighbours served only as a springboard. She had to get to Hollywood, where all stars are put to the test. Margot studied an American accent with a dialect coach prior to her departure. She even requested that the writers kill Donna off entirely when she left the program because she had no plans to return. Hollywood, in her opinion, was the only place that could test her limits and push her forward. Margot knew the true fight was only getting started as soon as she landed in the United States. Rejection after rejection, endless auditions. She once tried out for the Charlie's Angels part of Abby Sampson, but Rachel Taylor was cast instead. Margot never gave up, even though she frequently questioned whether she really belonged in Hollywood. Then Sony Pictures Television unexpectedly broke up with them. In Panem, she was cast as Laura Cameron, co-starring with Christina Ricci and Kelly Garner. Margot left a lasting impression, despite the fact that the show was canceled after just one season. The classic flight attendant outfit, the vintage blonde hair, and the combination of toughness and vulnerability in her eyes. Laura turned into her first genuine pass to a world far larger than she had ever dreamed of. Audiences really embraced her presence in Richard Curtis's romantic time travel film, About Time, which was her first major feature. Martin Scorsese was won over by this young Australian star just a year later. At that point, Margot Robbie's life began a completely new chapter. The renowned filmmaker has a reputation for selecting performers with great care. Margot therefore never thought she had a genuine chance. However, Scorsese's casting director, Ellen Lewis, was instantly impressed after watching her audition tape. Margot's phone rang on June 3, 2012. It will take you a few hours to reach New York. Leo will also be present because Scorsese wants to see you. Margot felt she misheard her manager since she talked so quickly. Her life suddenly took a radically new turn in an instant. The small space where the audition was held made the tension feel like a taut wire. Margot was so anxious that she believed she was wrecking everything when Leonardo DiCaprio entered and gave her a look she couldn't quite interpret. Half in character, half assessing her. I believed that Leo needed to steal the show from me. She subsequently remembered, I felt pitiful. Leo, playing Jordan Belfort to the fullest, said something arrogant in the pivotal scene. You should consider yourself fortunate to have a husband who maintains his physical fitness. Come on over and kiss me. Margot became aware that these 30 seconds had the power to completely alter her career. Without hesitation or thought, she swung her hand and gave DiCaprio a forceful smack across the cheek before retaliating with a fiery remark. There was a frightful hush in the room. Persuaded that she had just ruined her future, Margot froze, and then Scorsese started laughing. Leo laughed as much as he did. Brilliant, the renowned filmmaker remarked, his eyes shining. At that point, Margot Robbie made her Hollywood debut with a historic smack rather than sweetness. Few people could see what Scorsese saw in her. Ida Lupino's audacity, Carol Lombard's keen sense of humor, and Joan Crawford's ferocious tenacity. Hollywood welcomed Margot like a long, beautifully lit road from that day on. She was still a timid child, though, as she walked the red carpet for The Wolf of Wall Street, fearing that the sultry parts of the movie would shock her grandparents. Ultimately, she only brought her mom. In addition to receiving a nomination from the Georgia Film Critics Association, Margot's portrayal of Naomi, Jordan Belfort's arrogant and threatening wife, made her famous worldwide. At the same moment, however, an unseen trap started to take shape. Hollywood continued to make offers, but the majority of them centered on the same type of woman: seductive, enigmatic, and dangerously attractive. The industry so readily applies the exact same deadly mold on attractive actresses. Margot detested it. She said, I don't want to be confined. What's the use of acting if I'm just viewed as a beauty icon? She desired parts that had depth, complexity, genuine suffering, and narratives that stuck in the minds of viewers. And she was aware that the Hollywood stereotype that was being shaped around her could only be broken in one way. She needed to make her own chances. Kate Francis debuted in 2014. Margot, a drab, pale, frail French country girl who was so unglamorous that even she thought she looked awful, was cast in a supporting role. However, the film won her the Empire Award for Best Debut and garnered positive reviews. It turned into the second significant turning point that gave her access to a whole new career path behind the camera. Tom Akerley and Josie McNamara, two young, aspirational individuals Margot met on set, soon discovered they had similar frustrations. There were not enough genuinely meaningful roles available for women in Hollywood. Instead of merely putting women in the background for the male leads, these roles captivated the audience, affected the actors, and gave the story a sense of life. A serious concept sprang from Margot's jest. Every time I read a script, I just want to play the male part. Why not design roles for women that the entire globe would want to play? The group made the decision to rent a modest Clapham home together before to the release of Sweet Frances. 3 bedrooms could accommodate 5 individuals. However, two occurrences that changed people's lives occurred in that residence. The establishment of Lucky Chap Entertainment and the discreet start of Margot's relationship with assistant director Tom Akerley, who would eventually become her husband. Margot Robbie made a daring choice with three friends: Tom Akerley, Josie McNamara, and Sophia Kerr, a friend from her youth. While she was still a newcomer to Hollywood, they intended to launch their own production business. There were only a few beers, a kitchen table, and a small London apartment. A group of idealists who believed the world needed more stories about women, and no well-defined plan or seasoned advisors. On a noisy, hectic, and fuzzy night that none of them could recall why it strangely reminded them of Charlie Chaplin, the name Lucky Chap Entertainment was formed. Margot once chuckled, "We had no idea what kind of scary situation we were getting into since we were too young and ignorant." However, they were aware of one thing: a female voice was required for every Lucky Chap endeavor, from the viewpoint of the narrative itself to the characters and screenwriters. Finding the next generation of talent and standing on the correct side of culture were our goals. According to Akerley, at the time, nobody believed a group of young friends building a company on a kitchen table could compete with giant studios. "People thought we were idiots," Margot remarked. The #MeToo movement exploded shortly after Lucky Chap was established. And yet, those so-called idiots ended up creating one of the most influential marks on modern Hollywood. Following Harvey Weinstein's arrest, many women in the business began to speak up. Margot declined to give a boilerplate speech when she was asked to speak to the media. Rather, she conversed with actresses, makeup artists, and cinematographers, the women whose names were never prominently displayed on movie posters. "Harassment doesn't spare anyone," Margot remarked. "What matters is telling the stories of the people who've never been heard." Her acting career continued to progress despite her increased social activity, and in 2015 she starred in 3 films simultaneously: Z for Zachariah, The Big Short, and Focus. During this time she met well-known actors like Ryan Gosling, Christian Bale, and Will Smith, and she made a shocking decision. She turned down Birdman, which went on to become a classic and win the Oscar for Best Picture. Margot chose Z for Zachariah because she believed in the character, even though the movie only made $121,000 in the end, but she has never regretted it. Meanwhile, Focus became another turning point. After submitting her audition tape, she left for a vacation in Croatia with her brother. However, fate had other ideas, and she received an unexpected call telling her to get to the studio right away. She had 20 minutes to pack everything into a backpack, board a ferry to the airport, catch a flight to France, then another to New York. Despite the 12-hour flight, lost luggage, and lack of time for makeup, she arrived on time. When Will Smith arrived late, Margot simply grinned and said, "Really? I just flew in from an island off the coast of Croatia and I'm still here on time." On set, Margot never held back from telling Will Smith, "Hold on, you gotta play it like this." Will Smith later said, "Margot knows exactly who she wants to be and what she wants to do, but even better, she knows who you should be and what you should do." What made her stand out was that she was a young actress who didn't hesitate to speak up. In 2016, Margot had 3 more projects, including the adventure blockbuster The Legend of Tarzan, which starred Alexander Skarsgård and Samuel L. Jackson. Emma Stone had also been considered for the role of Jane Porter but declined it. Robbie and Skarsgård trained together in trust-building exercises to establish a real connection between their characters, but a new kind of challenge emerged. "Your relationship with Tarzan can't be gentle," director David Yates joked during an emotional scene between Jane and Tarzan. Margot recalled that moment as the one that made both actors fully melt into their roles, no longer Margot and Alexander, but Jane and Tarzan. However, all of that was just a warm-up for her biggest challenge yet, Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad, where she had to learn every skill imaginable, including breath-holding underwater, aerial acrobatons, firearms, and even dangerous props like fire batons. Beneath the humor, however, was a harsh reality. Margot wasn't given as much creative freedom as she had hoped. To her, Harley was unpredictable, chaotic, and occasionally lacking depth, but she still had to turn that chaos into a strange magnetic charm. Margot also acknowledged that she and Jared Leto never had a single rehearsal together, which made the Harley-Joker dynamic wild, unstable, and dangerous, exactly as the script intended. Despite this, audience reactions to the film were divided into 2 extremes. Joker was criticized as flat, messy, and bold,